Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm just wanted to say real quick for those who showed up last night because I accidentally live streamed a portion of this recording. I hope you had a good time. I apologize for not responding to the chat because I couldn't see it. It wasn't really meant to be a stream. I'm just an idiot. That said, the unedited stream that I accidentally made is up under the memberships for the members' viewing pleasure. Meanwhile, I hope the rest of you enjoy the actual edited video. So I want to cover some of the DragonAge stuff that's coming out. I'll be upfront. I'm not as surprised as other people seem to be about the news that's been coming out. But to be fair, I'm not someone who ever really reacts in too much of a loud, emotional way. That being said, you know my penchant for wanting to show you the original documents when it comes to tweets and stuff. And today, David Gator, the former writer for DragonAge, was screenshotted on Blue Sky as having said a number of things, which he did actually say. These are absolutely things he said. So I figured, I would come over here, take a look for myself, gather my own information, because that's what I like to do, and see what there is to see. And I have found what I consider to be some interesting information. The first post by David I'm greeted with is that he's in the process of apparently finally shutting down his Twitter account and is noticing a whole new bunch of angry mentions, which of course has to do with the fact that his previous tweets were of course shared over there, and he doesn't have anything nice to say about anybody who is criticizing what he's saying. Realistically, if you don't speak in a polite manner about others, I don't think you have a lot of room to be surprised if they're not speaking politely about you. It's a two-way street on that. So it's a big whatever there. Talking about the fresh bunch of chuds that are going to be coming over here to yell at him, apparently. And of course, people who feel if you follow Mark, then you're a confession to being a lost cause incel and blah, blah, blah. But here is the post that was shared to Twitter, where he says, the females aren't hot enough. And he says, yet because they've clued into the notion that this is obviously incel behavior, they've swapped out unattractive for masculine. I mean, most men aren't attracted to other men, so there is that. And thus transgender, because that's a framing which makes them seem political instead of porn-brained. And I'm not going to go through all of these because these are going to be covered quite a bit. And I'll be honest, when you go through the replies here, when people say, oh, but Blue Sky's so much nicer, it really isn't. It's the same people saying the same stuff, just in a different location. And now, they feel far more safe because they don't have the people to push back against them. It's the same thing that happens on Twitter. People will get lost in their own echo chambers. But I'm not going to get into that because I do actually have a different series of posts from Gator that I wanted to talk about. I have in a previous video covered some of Gator's thoughts on the release of DragonAge the Veilguard, which I will have linked down in the comments if you want to watch that one, or in a panel at the end of the video if you want to review it. But I kind of get it if you don't, because it's not going to be the same salacious, oh, he hates gamers stuff. Obviously, he doesn't like gamers who don't like the same thing he does, but I do find it interesting some of the stuff he has to say as a former developer, outside of the gamers want attractive people bad. So he posts, a question I've received frequently as of late. Will you be playing the new DragonAge? Asked with a degree of, I don't know, anticipation. Like, is this something I do covertly to spite the current team, or out of interest in hearing my true and honest thoughts? My answer? It's complicated. Honestly, I don't think I can play and enjoy the game like other fans play and enjoy the game. Not ever. On one hand, it'd be fun to play my first DragonAge game post-release without seeing all the compromises and cuts and disappointments from years of development. On the other, it's my baby. It's moved on. Do I like everything I see? Not really. The art style leaves me a bit cold, but then the art style has changed with every DragonAge and, as before, I'm sure I'll warm to it eventually. The gameplay has changed. That's because there's a lot I see which I do love. To go to these places I once dreamed of and finally see them there in all their glory, how cool is that? I have every confidence in Patrick and their writers to enthrall the fans and provide a worthy next chapter, not a single doubt on that front. So what'd stop me? Ego, probably. If I love it, I know a selfish part of me will ache that I wasn't part of it. And if there are parts I don't love, a part of me will wonder how it might have been. So completely unfair to the team, not to mention ludicrous considering I've been away 8 years now. If I get it on release, I'd probably be so I'd have something to distract me while the US inevitably self-immolates in November. Chances are I won't. There's no slight to the team, who I wish every success and kudo possible. I know the road is now paved with horrors, so they deserve it all. Of course, he's got to add some digs to the fans in there. But here's what I find interesting in this, despite the obvious pandering to the industry that he still has an attachment to. He also does not like the art style. Now, he says he could warm to it, and some people can. Personally, I cannot. This is not an art style that I find at all interesting, intriguing, fascinating, or acceptable, to be entirely blunt. I get the feeling he's never been big into gameplay. He's more interested in story, so that's a big whatever. And then, of course, the news on the choices from previous games. So realistically, he has identified the same problem that the majority of the people he hates also identify. Now, we also don't think the characters look good. He apparently does. Whatever. But I do find it interesting to reflect on the fact that he has these feelings that he feels a need to explain away, because obviously he still has a place he wants to protect within the industry, so he can't be too harsh. Now, it could just be that he's, kind of a waffle, but who knows, who cares on that regard. I just find it very interesting that he would post this and admit that there are things he doesn't like. Now, the funny thing is a lot of the people he calls incels and chuds share the same issues. I imagine if you were to approach him and say, hey, I share these issues, he'd still call you an incel or a chud, because God forbid you actually criticize any of these things. And the really sad thing is he did write a very compelling story, or assisted in writing a very compelling story in the previous games. However, this leads into the second thing I wanted to talk about. I'm sure you have already seen the leaks here from Nuhre. I don't know if I'm saying that incorrectly, and I apologize if I am. A playtester contacted her to talk about the DragonAge experience that he had as a playtester, obviously. Sent her an email to verify that he was in fact who he said he was, and then proceeds to go through and tell us basically everything we already suspected about the game. But having gone through just those messages with Gator, I wanted to basically come back to the toxic positivity issue. And I'm going to play a small portion of her video. The full video, the link for the full video will be down in the description so that you can watch the rest if you so desire. But I wanted to demonstrate a portion of the issue that we are definitely seeing in AAA gaming.
After every playtesting, every session, we had like a lot of talk. Basically they gave us questions and we need to fill answers. And I told Eric, hey, like the one he emailed me, hey, how about I give you a very comprehensive,
criticism,
like feedback, so you can give it to the devs. And that came from a DragonAge fan.
Yeah.
He said, yes, I would like to do that, but no promises. So I sent it to him. And I wrote it down there because he said, hey, you need to write it down in our computers. You cannot write it down on the, your computer. I said,
Of course,
absolutely. Yeah. So I write it there and everything. And I show it to him. He would look at it. He said, this is like very good. Unfortunately, I cannot send it to them.
So
I told him, what's the reason? He said, this is a very good, feedback, but I cannot, because I was going in.
You were like, oh, yeah.
Every single character. I even told them that what is non-binary in that universe? How the hell this world travels?
Yeah, why is this
time
a thing?
And space?
Like, how does it work here? Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense. That is crazy. And the fact that they've been saying, oh, we're listening to the fans, we're listening to our audience, and then you literally got paid to give feedback and to say like, hey, this is good, this is bad, and they don't listen to you.
No, you know why? Because I was the only one passionate about the game. They didn't, select people based on, their, if they are good at, DragonAge, or they are fan of the.
So basically, everything I've said in the past is very true. They didn't consult any actual Dragon Age fans, I imagine most of the people who wrote the game have no idea what Dragon Age is or what it means. And they do bring up an interesting point that I kind of reflected on a little while ago in regards to how do they know what non-binary is? Because apparently one of the characters actually introduces themselves as non-binary. It's an entirely separate universe. At the very least, shouldn't they have their own word for it? However, I was thinking about that the other day, and it seemed interesting to me that transgender colors seem to be the same no matter what universe you're in. Nobody has ever looked at a story and said, you know what? This time I'm going to use these colors instead. But that's a whole symbolism issue that I'm not going to dig too far into right now. This whole video, and she actually says it. She actually says, you know, I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised either. I'm really not, unfortunately. This is a lot of stuff that I anticipated being true. Just from the looks of the trailers. Just from the way they've treated the game in general. From the art style itself. This is all stuff that is very unsurprising, unfortunately. We all say that this is going to flop. More than likely, yeah, it's going to probably flop. We don't know how badly. We don't know how much of a height it might reach. It has a lot riding on a name, both in regards to its publisher and the name of the game itself. But we're seeing that things that cater so tightly to the specific audience these people have in mind don't do very well. Now, is that going to continue through with this? It'll be very interesting to see. I won't be surprised at all if it does. But, you know, it's just more proof to me that I have really good instincts about this stuff. I'm kidding. No, it's just more proof to me that AAA gaming has to go. Or at least the current AAA gaming studios have to go. They only want to listen to their echo chamber. They only want to hear the stuff that agrees with them. And, you know, it's frustrating, irritating, and annoying. All that said, what did you guys think of what you saw here? Did you find the candid comments from Gator to be at all interesting? Does anything change anything you've thought? I mean, I don't really see any of this changing. I was actually very hesitant to do this video because really, it's not a lot new. The best I can do is add my personal perspective, and my personal perspective is, well, I knew this was going to be bad from the beginning. But you know, I like to hear what you guys think anyway. Look forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.